All right, guys, we are live, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if there's any audio issues or there's anything going wrong. We haven't been live in a while, so I haven't had a lot of time to sort the tech out. I'll be monitoring chat up there. At the end of the show, we're going to do call-ins on Discord. So join my Discord, agree to the rules, whatever, and then go to the debate stage or one of the other VCs, and we will do live call-ins in the debate stage. We're going to do it in the debate stage because it's more controlled, and I can drag people into the debate stage. So we just do one at a time so we don't have a lot of people talking over each other and stumbling like that. So we have some interesting stories today. We're going to talk about some stuff that broke today, and then we're going to also talk about some stuff that's been breaking the past week, the time that I haven't been live. For those of you who didn't see, I just did Tim Pool's podcast the other day. We talked about tariffs, Israel, and a couple other things, so definitely make sure to check that out. I believe the title of that show starts with 104% tariffs on China. We did it the night that was announced, just before it was implemented. So, speaking of the tariffs, well, I guess not speaking of the tariffs, actually, inflation in March is at a low. So we have a 4-year low for inflation in the month of March. Now, this is probably largely prior to the implementation of these tariffs, so we don't necessarily know if these tariffs have had an effect on the inflation rate yet. But according to the Consumer Price Index, inflation fell down to a rate of 2.4% from 2.8% in February, which is a 4-year low. So this is almost back to what it was when Trump left office in 2021. So definitely good stuff there. The left has been whining and complaining, claiming that Trump's second term is going to bring about intense amounts of inflation on the American people, that his tariffs were going to destroy our wallets and create inflation themselves. I think we're going to see the opposite of that. There is going to be, as we've said over and over again, some short-term pain and some long-term gain. But really, I mean, in terms of the stock market, we're actually seeing not a whole lot of negative consequences in the stock market itself as of right now. The other day, when I was flying back from Tim Pool's podcast, I left at 8 a.m. I got on a plane at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I was down thousands of dollars in my stock portfolio. When I landed at noon Pacific time, I was up significantly. So I was very, very happy about that and very surprised. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that was achieved and how it was possible in a little while. Somebody says, how was Tim IRL? It was great. It was very good. I really liked the way that Tim formats his show. I also really enjoyed sort of the way that he brings his guests in, and you do kind of like this pre-show for his members and stuff like that. So it was really good. Who would win this tariff battle? The United States will win this tariff battle. So 30 to 35% of China's exports are tied to foreign invested corporations. So that means 30 to 35% of everything they export and make money off of is tied to a corporation that belongs to another country, because China doesn't have as much like native industry as you think they do. It's a lot of companies going to China from other places to get cheap labor. So that's a problem. Also, 1/3 of their GDP is tied to foreign invested corporations. And in addition to that, about 6% of their imports are tied to American corporations, things that we produce here domestically in America. Conversely, our imports are about 13% Chinese, which is still a problem, of course. But I mean, I would have thought that it was like 80%. I would have thought the amount of imports from China to the United States was way higher than it is. But as it turns out, the United States is very good at diversifying its trading partners. So imports from China actually account for less than imports to America from Canada, which is very surprising. We trade with Canada a lot, but I would have thought that more things come from China. But it's not true. So next story, the House has passed the SAVE Act, which would require people to register or show their voter ID, proof of citizenship, before they vote. Now, what's interesting about this is this seems like a no-brainer, right? If you want to vote in the United States, you have to be a citizen. That's the law. So in order to vote, you should probably also have to prove that you are a citizen in order to be allowed to vote. Despite the fact that we all know that you should have to show your proof of citizenship in order to be able to vote. We all know that it is illegal to vote if you are not a citizen. Almost every single Democrat voted against this bill. Let's take a look. So this is the voter breakdown for Congress, or for the House of Representatives, on the H.R. 22, the SAVE Act, which is, again, the bill that would require polling stations to receive a proof of citizenship before they allow people to vote. So for yay, we have 51% of the vote was yay. That was 220 Republicans, 4 Democrats. So you had 4 Democrats cross over the aisle and say, yep, maybe it is just a no-brainer that people should have to show an ID before they can vote in our federal elections. Only 4 Democrats. Now let's look at the nays. 49% of the House of Representatives voted against the bill that would require voter ID for voting. That's 208 Democrats. Not a single Republican voted against it. This should tell you who you're dealing with. This should not be a partisan issue. It shouldn't be partisan to require people to show voter ID when they vote. What's the argument against it? The only argument I hear against it is that black people don't know how to get IDs, or racism. Places where you can obtain IDs are too far away from black people. So, like, they live in a neighborhood over here, and then the DMV is really far away, and they can't go get a driver's license or an ID, which would also make you maybe we should just squish everything together, because if black people can't get a driver's license, they also can't drive a car. So I guess work is racism too, right? Work is racism as well. So, in reality, it doesn't matter if your DMV is really far away. That doesn't stop you from getting a license. It is not true that there's a widespread, pervasive problem in the black community of not having driver's licenses and IDs. All you need is a driver's license or a state ID to vote, or all you should need, at least. Democrats don't seem to think so. I live in Seattle, Washington. There are 2 DMVs in the entire city. So when I want to go get a new license, I have to go 20 miles away. And in a city, that's pretty far. Okay, it takes me about 45 minutes to get to the nearest DMV. Okay, what do? I take an Uber. If I don't have a car, or I can't drive because I don't have a license, take an Uber. I did this recently. I just moved from Los Angeles, California, so I had a California driver's license. I had to go get, and I was past the period of time where you can drive within Washington State with a out-of-state ID. Right, so I had to go to the DMV. I Ubered to the DMV, 45 minutes away. I sat down. There was nobody there. And I got my ID switched. It was very easy. Now I have a Washington State driver's license. Super easy, right? If you can't afford to Uber, because Ubering is expensive in Washington State because Washington targets poor people, Uber drivers have to make a livable wage, even though they're the ones who have volunteered to be Uber drivers. And they've taken away this very efficient form of transportation for poor people. Ubers are literally cheaper in LA. I used to Uber every day in LA, and it was far cheaper than Ubering in Washington State. It is extremely expensive to Uber in Washington State. It's like $20 to go a mile. It's crazy. So anyway, I took the Uber regardless. But if you can afford to take an Uber, because I understand, many people aren't as fortunate as me. If you can't afford to take an Uber, you can take the train. There are trains all over Washington State. You can take a train. There's also buses in Seattle. So if you can't afford to Uber or take the train, take the bus. If there isn't a train near you, take the bus. There are buses everywhere. No getting out of that. You can find a bus stop. There's a bus stop within walking distance of anywhere you could be in Seattle. So I just don't buy this idea that black people don't have IDs. Walk down the street in any black community and ask people, do you have an ID? They're going to look at you like you are psychotic. Of course they have IDs. All black people have IDs. So does it make sense that you would not require voter ID? The only reason to not require voter ID is if you want people who are not citizens of this country to be voting in our elections. And that is what Democrats have shown that they want. Again, 208 Democrats voted against voter ID for elections. That's insane. What's up, Jerry? What's up, brand name Kate's? A lot of places make you make appointments to get licenses, so you can even take time that day ahead of time. Yeah, you can. Well, I think most states it's easier to get in if you have an appointment, right? So like LA, you do not want to go to the DMV without an appointment. Plenty of people still do it. Plenty of people still go to the DMV in Los Angeles without an appointment, but you're going to be there all day, right? If you make an appointment, you're going to get in and out pretty quickly. Now, the California DMV is hell on earth, okay? It is hell. To me, the California DMV is enemy number one, right? I hate they are equivalent in my head to Hamas. They are a terrorist organization in my mind, right? They are terrible. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. The California DMV does not give a shit about you, and that is a fact. Okay, it is difficult. But it's not racism. All right, and I still got my ID, regardless of how terrible the California DMV was. But anyway, you don't need an appointment per se. Like in Seattle, you go at 11 a.m. You take the day off. You go to 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Nobody's going to be there. I think when I went, there was 3 people there, and I didn't have an appointment. I just walked in, right? And I was in and out in 30 minutes. So it just depends on where you go and when you go. It is definitely easier with an appointment, but I don't know of any states that require appointments. But it's better to get an appointment. You should get an appointment if you're going to go to the DMV. All DMVs really? No, not all DMVs. No, you don't understand. If you have not been to the California DMV, do not complain about a DMV. I'll tell you what, New York DMVs, maybe I'm biased because I lived in a rural area when I was in New York, but New York DMVs, chef's kiss, right? California DMVs, it's literally like they're in a factory or something. They just hate their lives. They don't care about you. They're mean to you. They will gaslight you. They are terrorists. So let's see what our next story is. Okay. Speaking of Washington State, we have a sheriff here in Washington State who is being, and I got to connect my Bluetooth to my Rodecaster here, or you guys aren't going to be able to hear this. We have a sheriff in Washington State who is being sued by the Attorney General of the state for aiding ICE in deportations. So let's take a look at that real quick. And by the way, I want to be very clear. This is because Washington State is a sanctuary city. Okay? This is because Washington State is a sanctuary city, which is illegal under federal law. You cannot harbor illegal aliens, which is exactly what refusing to give information to ICE when you know that there are illegal immigrants in your state is. It's a violation of 8 U.S. Code 1324, harboring an illegal alien. It is a violation of the law, and it is illegal. They are unfairly and illegally prosecuting or suing this sheriff here.
We're being faced with a lawsuit from the Attorney General of Washington State on, in my view, some...
They're suing you for trying to uphold the law. What a crazy world we live in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but how awful that is.
That's okay.
No, because it pisses me off.
Yeah, I get it. It pisses me off. But the reality is that it's some of the circumstances that have been, it's very political. It's politically driven, and it's unfortunate that we're in that position.
What are the Democrats in your state doing to prevent you from doing your job? And do you expect more of this, or are you not allowed to enforce the law?
It's come down to I'm not allowed to or else. And that's really what we're faced with. We have an attorney general that is going by his marching orders, whatever you want to call it, and coming after our little agency to serve as a message to the rest of the state of Washington. And if you look behind me, that's why these sheriffs are here today. They all feel the heat. They feel the situation is bearing down on us. We're only 39 sheriffs in our state, and our state needs sheriffs. 2021, we had an incident of an illegal alien that took the life of a mother and a daughter, the daughter being a special needs female that had the capacity of a five-year-old, and they did it in a very horrific way by dismembering the bodies and leaving them in a trunk of a vehicle.
So the Washington State Attorney General is suing the sheriff. And by the way, sheriffs are elected officials. This guy is beholden to his voters. He is working with ICE to deport illegal immigrants because he has seen illegal immigrants in his community murder women, specifically a woman who has the mental capacity of a 5-year-old via dismembering the body of her and her mother. So this guy is working with ICE, which is required by law. If you have knowledge of an illegal immigrant in your vicinity and you refuse to answer questions when ICE comes and looks for those people, you are harboring an illegal immigrant. That's a violation of 8 U.S. Code 1324, harboring an illegal alien. It is against the law. Sanctuary cities are illegal. Every single sanctuary city in this country should be shut down by the federal government. It shouldn't be this sheriff right here, getting prosecuted. Okay? It should be the Attorney General. It should be the state of Washington and the city of Seattle that are being prosecuted for harboring and aiding and abetting illegal aliens after they have knowingly violated 8 U.S. Code 1325, improper entry by alien, when they jumped the border without inspection and came here, blatantly disregarding and disrespecting the laws of this country. That is what should be happening. But instead, you have a good American who's doing his job and executing the will of his voters, sitting in a congressional hearing because he's being sued by his state, by the people who don't care about their voters. That is a huge problem to me. And it's one of the many problems with Washington State. Washington State is a complete shithole. Washington State has to be one of the biggest shitholes in the entire country. And I'm in Washington State right now, by the way. This studio is in Washington State. The government in this state is terrible. One of the most interesting, and this isn't like going to be something that's super polarizing, but one of the most interesting laws in this state is the knife laws. You have to have a knife that is less than 4 inches, and it can't be a fixed blade. Why? Why not? Why can't it be a fixed blade? If you have a 3 or 4 inch knife, it's probably you're not gonna have it on your belt. A fixed blade. And I see people walk around with folding blades on their belts, in little pouches. It's a knife, but it's on their belt. So like that can't be the problem. It's not because they don't want people walking around with fixed blades on their belts. Clearly not the problem. People walk around with knives on their belts anyway. What's the reasoning? Because I prefer fixed blades, because if somebody is attacking me, I don't want to have to sit here. Got it. Finally, I got it. I finally got my knife out. No, I'm gonna, here you go. Get a little closer, buddy. That's what I want, right? I want a fixed blade that's ready to go. All I have to do is pull it out. Here we go. I'm defending myself. Because God forbid I have a gun in this state. That's not going to work out. I'm not going to be able to open carry in Washington State. So that's not going to happen. So, I'd like to have a knife on me. I'd very much prefer it to. But what is the arbitrary reason why I can't have a fixed blade? Just don't understand it. And it pisses me off. It pisses me off so much. So you know what I'll do instead of having a fixed blade? Knife? What about this? It's not a knife. Can I have this? Just kidding. I would never carry this on my person in public, but let's put it back. Just saying, you leave your laws open to loopholes, but I forgot to turn my lights on. All right, let's look at the comments real quick. Make sure this is set up. Okay, cool. Oh, I messed something up, guys. All right. When do you predict China will bend the knee? When do I predict China will bend the knee? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. When I think that China will bend the knee. I don't necessarily have like a solidified timeline of when I think China will bend the knee, but we're going to get into the tariff stuff in a couple more segments. Don't worry. So let's see what we got next on the docket here. Ryan Ruth. Do you guys remember Ryan Ruth? This guy? I guess I'm going to show a picture of him. Hold up. Let's see. Remember this guy, guys? Ryan Ruth. Ryan Ruth is finally being charged for attempting to assassinate the president. Here, let me make sure that I'm back over here. Sorry, you guys couldn't see me for a second. So Ryan Ruth is finally being charged for attempting to kill the president of the United States. How this wasn't the case before, how it's just happening, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. This guy sat in a bush and tried to put a bullet through the head of the president of the United States. And he's just now getting charged for attempted murder on the president of the United States? Tell me how that one works. I don't understand. But nevertheless, he's being charged. Today, my office is officially charging Ryan Ruth for attempting to assassinate the then presidential candidate Donald J. Trump and former President Donald J. Trump, thanks to the leadership of AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. We now have the federal government willing to work with the states to pursue justice. How on earth was Ryan Ruth the dude who tried to kill the former president of the United States and current presidential candidate, and now current president of the United States, how was that guy not charged with attempted murder sooner? He was charged with like firearms crimes and assaulting a Secret Service agent, but he wasn't charged with trying to kill the president. They found him in a bush with a gun. He was trying to kill the president. Just ridiculous. Like the most ridiculous stuff ever. I cannot believe it. Let's see what we got going on next. All right, so we're gonna get into the tariff stuff now. I probably shouldn't be showing my secrets and spoiling the stories before they come, guys. The Chinese yuan has fallen to the lowest point it's been since 2007 as U.S. tariffs. Why am I messing up here? The Chinese yuan, has fallen to the lowest it's been since 2007 as U.S. tariffs kick in on China. Let's read this. My eyes are too bad. We're going to have to blow this up here. Onshore yuan closes at lowest since 2007. Offshore yuan bounces after sliding to record low overnight. Chinese state banks are selling dollars to stabilize markets. Singapore/Hong Kong, April 9th, Reuters. China's yuan ended at its weakest level in more than 17 years on Wednesday after its offshore counterpart fell to a record low overnight as escalating Sino-U.S. trade war rattled current markets. The onshore yuan finished the domestic trading session at 7.3498 per dollar, its weakest close since December of 2007. The declines come as a trade war between the world's two largest economies escalates. U.S. President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariff on dozens of countries took effect on Wednesday, including massive 104% duties on Chinese goods. Now it's more, it's 125%. China's top leaders plan to meet as soon as Wednesday to hammer out measures to boost the economy and stabilize capital markets. People with knowledge of the matter said, while despite the tariff pressure, China's central bank will not allow sharp yuan declines and has asked major state-owned banks to reduce U.S. dollar purchases, people with direct knowledge of the matter said on Wednesday. So the Chinese yuan is in decline. 30 to 35% of their total exports are reliant on foreign invested corporations. About 10% of that are American corporations, okay? 1/3 of their GDP is tied to foreign invested enterprises. They are screwed. 6% of their total imports are reliant on the United States. They're screwed. They don't have the cards, as Donald Trump would say. So let's move into the next part of this, which is, this is what happened. This is what Donald Trump did. Trump instituted insanely high tariffs across the world. We're talking like 65, 60%, 35%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 10% at the lowest across the entire world. That's what he did. Okay. He dropped 104% tariffs on China. Then the stock market went into free fall. Everyone panicked. Investor confidence crumbled. Okay. Then everyone looks around. The world is burning. Oh my God, everything's terrible. The world is on fire. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The world's on fire. We can't survive this. We're all going to die. This is just, we're losing all of our money. Then Trump dropped a 125% tariff on China. The world is imploding at this point. It's as if we just received an economic nuclear bomb. Okay? Then what did Trump do? He said, hey, remember all those tariffs that I put across the world? 60%, 45%, 50%, 35%, 25%. Just kidding. 10% across the board. 125% on China. The investors went, wow. We're safe. Okay. We're safe. Trump said, not so bad, is it? 10% tariffs across the board, 125% on China. Not so bad, huh? Market shoots up. Largest one-day increase in points ever. Okay? Record high jump in the stock market. Okay? Now I'd like you to think back to 2024 election. Donald J. Trump is running for president of the United States. What did he say? Anybody know? What was his tariff plan? Anybody know? What was it? What was the tariff plan? 10% across the board, 35% on China. That was the plan. Okay, he's now instituted a more aggressive plan than that. And when Trump announced this, I want to put 10% across the board and 35% on China, what did everybody say? Oh my God, it's going to be economic devastation. We're all going to die. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, it's going to be terrible. We're going to be eating garbage. He got exactly what he wanted with next to no repercussions in the stock market. Got exactly what he wanted. He gave you a reality that was so bad, you forgot how bad you thought his original plan was. That's what he did. He bombed the economy so you would forget how bad 10% was and then said 10%. Now we have dozens of countries coming to the United States ready to negotiate for a new deal. They're ready to come and negotiate. That's how he did it. And not only did he do this with next to no market repercussions, the left forgot how bad they thought it was. The left thinks he fixed the problem. I'm not even joking. Look at this. Let's pull up a video from Tommy. One second. Two objects that are the same shape. Oh, check it out. I'm not stupid. Okay, cool. All right. We are the champions, my friend. He thinks Trump fixed it. Trump is doing exactly what he originally wanted to do, which was 10% tariffs across the board and extremely high tariffs on China.
I support Trump because he knows what he's doing. He's a man with a plan.
And they forgot. They completely forgot. They thought that was bad. They're just seeing the market rebound, and they're like, "Oh no, he fixed the problem he created." It's like, no, like you just don't understand what's happening. He's literally like screwing your mind, and you don't get it. Let's check out another one.
Donald Trump just folded like a bitch on his tariffs.
No, he didn't. He got exactly what he wanted. He got exactly what he wanted. He wanted 10% across the board. That's what he originally advocated for, and you all said the world would burn down. He literally showed you a burning world, and then when he put 10% tariffs on, you said, all right, cool. That's not so bad. We just said, yeah.
So here's the thing. Donald Trump said that the tariffs were going to make us fabulously wealthy. He said that...
We've had the tariffs for, 2 days now?
On Air Force One, he leered into a reporter's face and says, "We're not going to know what to do with all that money." Very smug.
Based.
He lied about how the tariffs were going to be paid for by the other country and not the American consumer. He said that because of all that free tariff money, we were going to be debt-free.
Nobody said it was free. When you said it would be painful for a little while.
No national debt very soon. He said that the tariff money could maybe get rid of the income tax. Can you imagine?
He did say that maybe, and I would actually support getting rid of the income tax in preference of a tariff. But they don't understand what Trump's doing, and it's so radically obvious. Look at what they're saying. He said that we were going to replace the income tax. He said we were going to negotiate for a better deal. He said that we were going to protect American industry and bring manufacturing home. These are the three purposes of a tariff, by the way. Three purposes of a tariff: protectionism, revenue, and negotiating. Leverage, right? You can institute a tariff for any one of those three reasons. Trump is claiming he's going to use them for all of these reasons. Why? He doesn't want them to know his next move. It's so obvious. He's fucking everyone's mind, right? It's so obvious that this is what he's doing. He's not letting them know his next move. Nobody needs to know why he's doing the tariffs except Donald Trump, right? Very obvious. Very obvious. So anyway, let's get on with it here. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh yeah. Oh wait. Hold up. This is the funny part. Oh wait. Is this the wrong video? Did I link the wrong video here?
So breaking. He's playing chess.
Oh yeah, here it is. Check this out. This is the day before.
He's playing chess.
Remember that video from Tommy where Tommy said,
he's playing chess.
Come on.
He's playing
Shut
chess.
up. Okay. Remember that video from Tommy where he said, when Trump fixes a problem he created? Watch this video. This is ironic. It's from a day ago, or like the day before the tariffs.
He's playing chess. He's playing chess. That's why the market's crashing. I've played a lot of chess in my life and never crashed the global economy.
Well, you're a deadbeat dad who's unemployed, makes videos on TikTok. That's probably why you've never crashed the global economy, because you don't have any power. You don't have the power to crash the global economy. It's exactly why. You're unemployed and broke. So that'd probably be why. Now, in terms of Donald Trump playing chess, I think it's abundantly obvious that he's playing chess. He has, again, instituted his exact plan that you all said would burn down the world. Instituted that plan with next to no stock market repercussions, and you forgot about it. And you forgot about it. He pulled one of those Men in Black flasher pens. You don't even remember that 10% tariffs were a bad thing. Completely forgotten. So, just so funny. So Kevin O'Leary is calling for a 400% tariff on China. We're gonna watch this here in a second. Let's pull it up. 400% tariff on China. Now, this is like 400% tariff. You almost might as well just ban trade with China at that point. But let's watch. Let's see what Mr. Wonderful has to say.
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
For sure. And this is something interesting that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, a side benefit of the tariffs, or a side negative of China, I guess. Kevin O'Leary is talking about the intellectual property theft from the Chinese government on U.S. corporations. So we're essentially just giving all of our innovations to China by producing everything there, which is a problem on top of the national security, on top of the economic ripping off. It's a problem, right? And we should try to solve this problem, and we should try to divest from China. If this wouldn't be a problem if in the 1970s and 80s we put tariffs on India, China, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and India that were a counterweight to the difference in labor costs. That's why our corporations went there. Like, corporations went there because they saw slaves. They said, all right, cool. You're telling me I can pay somebody 50 cents an hour, and look it up, because the average pay for a Chinese sweatshop worker is 50 cents an hour. You're telling me I can go to China and pay somebody 50 cents an hour? I'm legally obligated federally to pay them $7 an hour in the United States. In most big cities, I'm legally obligated to pay them 15, but I can pay them 50 cents an hour in China. Fuck, I'm going there. You know, I can make such massive profit in China by marking everything up extremely high, while I'm paying, people are assuming that the labor costs a lot of money, but it doesn't. They're willing to pay these things. And this is very interesting because I saw a very interesting tweet yesterday, and we'll bring it up. The funniest outcome, one second, the funniest outcome of tariffs would be that nothing changes much for either the US or China, because it turns out Americans have been ridiculously scammy middlemen and sold stuff with like 500% markup, so the markup drops to 396% and consumption stays the same. This would be very interesting. Now, I think this would still hurt China regardless, because if you tariff them 400%, American producers are going to come to the United States and they're going to produce things, and you probably still wouldn't notice a difference in cost because they're not using, they're using slave labor in China and then charging people as if they weren't using slave labor. Dad, you just proved my point. What was your point? If this was your point, then I agree with you fully. So check this out. So somebody looked into this, and they found a 1,000% markup between Amazon and Alibaba. So look at this. This is, what is this? Creatine, monohydrate, whatever. Okay, I don't know what it is. Some kind of supplement. Excuse me. Some kind of supplement here. Monohydrate. It's even worse than that, this person says. You can reverse image search any product on Amazon, and it's literally a 1,000% markup from Alibaba. So here you have this monohydrate creatine being sold on Amazon for $21.50, produced in China. On Alibaba, it's $1.98. $1.98. The production value on this is clearly not very high. The labor cost is clearly not very high. So if you produce this in the United States with a smaller profit margin, you'd be fine. And we could probably still charge around the same price, right? Because even if $15 of this is labor cost, even if $15 of this is labor cost, you're still walking away with $6 of profit, $6.50 of profit. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Per thing, how many of these do you think you sell? You got 46,966 reviews right here. Times that by 5. Let's see. What is it? That's just the reviews, by the way. That's just the people who like this enough to drop a review on it. 46,966 times $6.50. That's $305,000. $305,279. Huge profit. And you're also not shipping it across the world. Exactly. When you bring production back home, you're not going to be paying shipping prices. And your shipping prices are baked into this cost. They're also baked into the Alibaba cost. So imagine what this would be if you didn't have to ship it across the world. It'd be like, man, like $1. It'd be like you get a 50% reduction just there. Imagine what this would be. I'm probably not that much cheaper, but still, regardless, you're still paying for the shipping cost. I mean, they must be producing this for almost nothing. How long do you think it takes to make one of these things? An hour? In a sweatshop, that's 50 cents. I mean, what do you have to do? The factory probably refines the creatine. You know, it's probably automated. And then the factory workers, fill the cans or screw the lids on? Like, I don't know, right? 50 cents. Probably do this all with machines in the United States. And then the labor cost is nothing, and you don't see a difference in price, right? Because the biggest argument right now is like, okay, we stop using slave labor in China, and then you run into a problem where the price goes up because now you have to pay people like livable wages or minimum wage or whatever, right? That's the argument. It's like now the price of the product goes up because you have to pay people more money. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I think if we came to the United States, we'd use more automation, and it would probably be robots doing most of the job. So I don't think that you'd run into that. But regardless, if you did run into that difference in labor cost, increased price, I don't think it matters. And the reason is because that doesn't justify using slave labor. Paying cheaper prices does not justify slave labor, right? In the United States, we banned We banned slavery in the South in the year 1860 through Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. What did it do? It crumbled the Southern economy. Now, I would argue that slavery was holding the Southern economy back for decades anyway, but it crumbled the Southern economy because it was completely reliant on slavery. Their terrible economy was completely reliant on slavery, and it crumbled, okay, because they didn't have slaves anymore. Reconstruction, the North had to rebuild the South. Now, was that a bad thing? Well, the economic ramifications were a negative, but does that mean we shouldn't have banned slavery? No. Slavery still should have been banned, regardless of the economic ramifications of banning it. The average manufacturing pay in China is $7, not 50 cents. Not true. Let's look it up. I just got in an argument about this last night. One second. Oh, it's really gonna put me behind a paywall on this? Okay, one second. Specifically in Shenzhen. Here we go. Gov.info.gov. So this is the United States government making this claim. Let me blow it up so you guys can see it a little bit better. The base wage in Shenzhen is 53 cents an hour, $4.27 a day, and $21.34 a week, despite being forced to work 70-hour work weeks. Workers report being routinely cheated of nearly 20%, $8.31, in overtime wages legally due to them each week. This is equivalent of being cheated out of 2 days' wages each week. This looks like this one is specifically referring to like the manufacture of toys. Blow it up a little bit. Yeah, the base wage. The workers are housed in primitive dorms, 12 people crowded into each room, sleeping on double-level metal bunk beds, and fed company food. The workers describe as awful. It doesn't have to be this way. The Mattel Barbie toy was made in the factory. Was made in that factory. The Barbie, blah blah blah, whatever. We don't care about Barbies. But anyway, yeah. Regardless of how you dice it, these people are incredibly underpaid and oftentimes abused and taken as slaves by their companies, which is a problem. I'm an average in China. Yeah, sure. Well, there are different places in China that have different specialties, right? So, like, just because the average wage across China is like whatever. So, like, okay, basically, if you're looking at a situation where the average pay is like $4 an hour in, I don't know, Beijing, for example, right? But it's 50 cents in Shenzhen. You're going to go to Shenzhen, as a U.S. manufacturer. You're only going to China because you want cheap labor. Now, $7 an hour is probably cheaper than most of America, but 50 cents is extremely cheap. This is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to go here, and these corporations are cheating them out of their wages, too. 20%. So to deny that there's slave labor in China being abused by American manufacturers is just wrong. It's not true. It's absolutely happening. And we're playing into it. And I think that we should try to move away from it as much as we can, regardless of economic ramifications. But I don't think that the economic ramifications will be what people think they are. So in 2023, the average yearly wage for manufacturing workers in China was approximately 103,932 Yuan, around 15,000 USD. A slight increase from 97,528 yen, around 14,000 USD in 2022. Yeah. Average wage for manufacturing. But average, again, like this doesn't mean that the majority of people working for American producers are making 15,000 US dollars a year. But regardless, 15,000 USD is still like nothing. Divide that by 8,760 hours in the year, and you get an hourly wage of approximately $1.73. Nice, Bradley. That's awesome. Thanks for doing that quick math. Let's see what we got next. So after the Alibaba markup, we've got this. Amazon is canceling inventory orders from China due to tariffs and is considering making a $15 billion expansion in their U.S. warehouse network to reduce reliance on overseas inventory flow. This is huge. And if you don't believe Wall Street Silver, just give me one moment here, because we have a Yahoo Finance link that will say the same thing. Amazon cancels Amazon cancels orders from China after steep tariffs, plans $15 billion in U.S. expansion. It's awesome. They told me it would take years. They told me it would take years for these people to come home. Turns out, it doesn't take years. Turns out it takes one day. It takes one day for American companies to come home after Daddy puts tariffs on them. That's all it takes, as it turns out. I thought it would take years. That's what the left told me. They were wrong. They're liars. Let's read this article. April 9th, Amazon, NASDAQ-Amazon, has canceled several inventory orders from Chinese suppliers following the implementation of steep U.S. tariffs, according to Bloomberg report. The canceled shipments include consumer products like scooters, beach chairs, and air conditioners. The move comes as the Trump administration's new 104% tariff package on the Chinese imports takes effect, putting an added pressure on global supply chains. In 2024, the U.S. imported close to $440 billion in goods from China, much of it consumer merchandise. Now, that is about 13.4% of everything we import comes from China. That's less than Canada. Surprisingly, I don't know how. I thought it would be more like 70% and far more than Canada. Bank of America analysts noted in a research note Wednesday that the company's sales brushed off the 2018 tariff rebound, but the broader 2025 measures present a new ballgame for the cost structures and logistics. The firm lowered its price target on Amazon from $257 to $225. Bloomberg also reported that Amazon is considering a $15 billion investment to expand U.S.-based warehouse network, likely to reduce reliance on overseas inventory flows. We did it, guys. They're coming home. Steve Madden came home the day Trump got elected. They're doing it. They're coming home, just as we predicted. Wow, we're right. Who would have guessed? How about 70 million voters probably guessed? Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. Exactly as we planned it. Crazy. And you know, something interesting I want to talk about is I really get hassled here and told that this is going to have devastating economic ramifications. People are going to lose their 401ks. Their 401ks are going to plummet. Tommy, the guy who said Trump supporters when he fixes something he broke. People like that. Tommy was actually arguing with me in the comments today, saying that everyone's 401ks are down. My 401k is not down. I don't think Tommy has a 401k. I don't think he's ever had a 401k. I don't think he understands how 401ks work. Because if your 401k goes down and then the market goes back up, what does the 401k do? It goes back up. He doesn't understand how 401ks work. I have a Roth IRA, I have a traditional IRA, and I have a 401k. None of them are down. They're all up. I also have an investment account where I buy stocks. That's also up. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry, you don't understand how they work. In addition to that, I'm also an avid Amazon shopper. I order so much stuff from Amazon. Everything in this studio is from Amazon, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. This is from Amazon. This sticker is from Amazon. This microphone's from Amazon. This boom arm is from Amazon. I actually bought the computer on Apple. This is from Amazon. This is my switcher, my little switcher. My big switcher over here My ATEM, that's from Amazon. This is from Amazon. This is from Amazon. These are DJI mics. My lights here, look, check this out. Amazon. This is from Amazon. The TV's surprisingly not from Amazon. All of my Samsung hard drives that I record my shows on, Amazon. This plant right here, this is from Amazon. This tripod, Amazon. Let's see. The globe, Amazon. The vases, Amazon. The clock, Amazon. All of these books, Amazon. I actually bought this painting in Jerusalem. These books, Amazon. This plant, Amazon. This is a folder from the Reagan Foundation. All these books, every single one of them, Amazon. This map behind me, Amazon. This little jack right here on the shelf, Amazon. All of the commie books I've got over here, the volumes of Capital right there, those are all Amazon. All of these books right here, this is like stuff written by Stalin, Lenin, Marx, etc. That's all Amazon. This plant, Amazon. What's that little thing there? That's a light. The thing in the middle is a light, Amazon. Those vases, Amazon. 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 Books, Amazon. This desk, Amazon. Everything in this room, the bricks, those aren't real bricks. Those are not real bricks. That's vinyl. Amazon. I'm not even kidding. The shelves, Amazon. Everything in this room is from Amazon. I shit you not. The camera that you're watching me on, Amazon. I'm not even kidding. It's all from Amazon. The sword I showed earlier, Amazon. Look at this. Check this out. Sword. It's right there. Amazon. See that Spartan helmet? Amazon. See that little, where is it? How do I point to it? That sculpture, that Greek sculpture right there? Amazon. The shelves they're sitting on? Amazon. All of it. This thing? Amazon. All of it. I can't even think of a single thing in this room that's not from Amazon. All of it's from Amazon, right? But they're like, oh, they're canceling shipments. Your prices are going to go up. Oh, no. Oh, no. They're going to go up for a short time, and then they're going to plummet down. Thank God, right? This affects me probably more than most in terms of Amazon. I love Amazon. It's my favorite thing in the world. I don't care. I'm chilling. Love the channel camp and watching you since like your third video. Is there any way you could separate shorter and longer videos in your feed? I'm not sure. Maybe. It's possible. You prefer longer or you prefer shorter? So you are complicit in the bolstering of China's economy. How are we bolstering China's economy? We're definitely not bolstering China's economy. And by the way, guys, we're going to do call-ins at the end of this show. So once we make it through all my stories, we're going to do call-ins. Join the Discord, linked in the description just go to a recent video and you'll find the Discord linked in the description. Go there, and there you shall find the Discord link. Join the Discord. We're going to do call-ins in the debate stage. You can come up, you can ask me questions, or you can try to debate me. We're going to limit debates to like 10 minutes, just so we don't monopolize time, unless I decide that I want to continue the debate. It's up to me. I'm the dictator. So let's check out what we have left for stories. MAGA hats. MAGA hats. Laura Loomer reposted this. I don't know if she's supportive of this. I don't know. But the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China just posted this on X in response to President Trump's tariffs. It's a Make America Great Again hat that says Made in China. It goes from $50 to $77 because it got more expensive because it's made in China. There's just one problem with that, though. And that problem is that MAGA hats are not made in China. They're made in California. The Columbia Dispatch did a fact check on this. They call the rumors widely debunked. They talk about how every MAGA hat is made in Carson, California. This was a claim that was made in both 2016 and 2020. When Trump actively spoke against China, they claimed that his MAGA hats were made in China. They are not. There are some knockoffs that are made in China, but there are knockoffs of everything made in China. It is not specific to MAGA hats, and those aren't the hats that Trump sells. So no, this shows how smart these people are. They're not smart. They're idiots. Quick Google search. Y'all got DeepSeek in China. Throw that through a DeepSeek search. Are Trump hats made in China? No, they're not. Make showers great again. Donald Trump is on a mission to make showers great again. He signs an executive order that will undo, quote, dumb Obama-Biden showerhead regulations, which made it hard to wash his, quote, beautiful hair. So this has to do with water pressure. It's some over-regulation related to the environment and how fast you can make water pressure. It's really, as Trump put it, dumb. And I also want to be able to wash my beautiful hair, so I support making showers great again. Cam, you need to advertise the Discord more. It's not active enough. Join the Discord, guys. The link is in the description of every video I ever post. It's probably not in this description of this live because I didn't fill out a description. It'll be in there after the show. So if you're watching this after the show ended, it'll definitely be in there. So go check it out. Join the Discord. The link is in the description. And I'm not the only one who needs to make the Discord active. You guys need to make the Discord active. So you guys, when I see you guys arguing in the Israel-Arab conflict section all day, every day, pull yourselves into VC. I see you guys having heated and passionate debates in there, right? When I'm doing that and when I'm over text, my thumbs get tired and I don't want to do it. I say, meet me in VC or piss off. So that's what you guys need to do. When you're arguing with somebody who disagrees with you, you need to say, join Debate VC right now and let's have a conversation about it. And then you need to go and you need to school them. Okay? That's what needs to happen. If you're arguing about abortion, go to VC. Link to the Discord in the description. The link is in this live. Okay. The link to the Discord is in the description of this live. I just checked. It's there. Everybody join the Discord. Linked in the description below. US Atlas, thank you for letting us know that. And thanks for your super chat yesterday on the other day on Tim Pool. I did see your text. I forgot to respond to it, though, I think. I was a little nervous before Tim Pool, so I was trying to pretend like you weren't watching, because I don't like it when I get nervous when people are watching. But anyway, yeah. Let's see what we got next. Tim Walz was heckled by veterans, which was hilarious. Let's watch it. They call him a coward. They say, shut your effing mouth, and you sympathize with the Chinese. Let's check it out.
Welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're Sir, you're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish.
And maybe you heard it. I could have swore I heard it. I could have swore somebody called him a prostitute. Now, I might be hearing things, but I don't know. And what is this American Legion thing he's got going on here? What is this, like, poster? I just love how these people respond. Shut your effing mouth. You're a coward. You sympathize with China. This coming from the guy who spent his campaign trying to pretend that he was like a battle-hardened veteran. Regardless, I respect him for joining the military and all that, but he definitely claimed that he was in war, and he was never in war. He said, those weapons of war that I carried in war should not be held by average people. He was never in war. And he also never held an AR-15 in war. He never held an AR-15. I doubt he ever held an AR-15 in combat, in the military. Why? Because AR-15s aren't combat weapons. They're not made for the military. AR-15, the standard issue weapon rifle for the military, is an M4 carbine, not an AR-15. Why? Because AR-15s are specifically manufactured for civilian use. Now, a lot of people make this stupid claim that AR-15s were manufactured for the military. Now, let's go back and look at what happened. So, Armalite made an AR-15 a long time ago in the 1960s. Okay, they wanted it to be used in the Vietnam War. Okay, they tried to sell it to the U.S. military. U.S. military didn't want it. They had a contract with Colt. They said, nope, we're already getting into the war, and no, don't need it. Okay, so Armalite was like, all right, well, we'll just sell this to Colt then. Right? There's a good way to skirt the U.S. government rejecting you. They already have a contract with somebody, Colt. They won't buy your gun. Sell your gun to Colt. So Colt bought the AR-15. They renamed it M16. The M16 was the original AR-15. Okay, so what happened? Years later down the line, Armalite was like, well, we never produced an AR-15, technically. So we'll just make an AR-15 for civilian use. Totally different firearm. Same name. Okay? Same name, totally different gun. Semi-auto versus automatic. They produce it for civilian use, specifically catered to civilian needs, and they sold it. And that's the AR-15 we know and love today. Not the AR-15 of the 1960s that were produced for Vietnam. Those are the M16. Totally different gun. One for military, one auto, one not auto. One for civilian use. So he never carried, he was talking about AR-15s, and he said he carried these weapons of war in war. He was never in war, and he certainly never carried an AR-15 in the military because they're not used in the military. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Caroline Leavitt is ignoring emails with pronouns in them. Do not respond. PressSec confirms that they ignore reporters with pronouns in email signature. The President Donald Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, confirmed to a New York Times NYT reporter that it is the administration's policy for officials not to respond to any reporters who have pronouns in their email. According to the NYT, Trump administration officials have repeatedly ignored their reporters' requests for comment back because they have pronouns in their Gmail signatures. Alongside Leavitt, Katie Miller, a senior advisor at the Department of Government Efficiency, declined to answer another NYT reporter's email after they reportedly included their pronouns in the signature. Based? Let's go. Based? I believe the AR-10 was a different gun completely. The AR-15, let's look it up. The AR-15 was produced for the military. Original AR-15 became M16. I think the AR-10 was like a prototype of the AR-15. Yes, the original Armalite AR-15 rifle was adopted by the U.S. military and subsequently renamed the M16. It wasn't adopted by the U.S. military. It was adopted by Colt, so AR is wrong here. It was adopted by Colt, and Colt renamed it the M16 because it wasn't an Armalite rifle anymore. The rights were purchased by Colt, and that's why it was renamed to M16. I don't even know what the AR-10 is. What is the AR-10? The AR-10 is a semi-automatic modern sporting rifle with Armalite roots, often considered the, quote, big brother of the AR-15, designed to fire larger, more powerful calibers. Let's see. Is AR-10 civilian? Is AR-10 made for civilians? Yes, the AR-10 rifle are indeed made for civilian use. All right, what do we got cooking next, guys? I think this is the last story, whatever we got coming up next. Then we're going to do call-ins from Discord. Biden wandered out into lawn chair. Oh, this is interesting. We'll play this.
One point.
So Jesse Waters did an interview with Chris Whipple. And he tells the story about Joe Biden being in the middle of a session and he like wanders out to the pool area and falls asleep.
At one point during a session in Aspen Lodge, the presidential cabin, Biden wanders out in the middle of the session. He wanders out to the pool, collapses into a lounge chair and falls sound asleep. So now fast forward. Nevertheless, they go ahead with this debate. I asked Clay, and I said, "Why? Why in the world would you do that?" And he said, "Well, it was politically just wasn't feasible to cancel it at that point, so they couldn't do it." But it's
because he had a cold. That's what the line was. The president had a cold, and if a cold could knock you out of the most important night of your life, how really strong are you?
Yeah, exactly, and also just the issue of age and mental infirmity at that point was it was the issue in the campaign. At one point during a session in Aspen Lodge, the president.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell we managed to have a marshmallow brain president for 4 years. But honestly, I was talking about this last night with somebody on Discord. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we had a president with a marshmallow brain for 4 years because it really woke people up. My girlfriend, for example, was a vote blue no matter who person. Vote blue no matter who. right? She voted for Joe Biden. And then once she had Joe Biden, she said, oh, well, maybe Trump isn't so bad. She voted for him. And now she is a big Trump supporter. So I think it's definitely a net positive for the country that we had Joe Biden for 4 years. For sure. For sure it was a net positive that we had Joe Biden. Because it woke so many of those hive mind liberals up. And a lot of them voted for Trump. And they don't want to admit that. They love to... Are the Trump supporters happy with what they voted for? Yeah, they actually are happy with what they voted for. Are you projecting? Were you happy with what you voted for in 2020? I don't think you were. At least Donald Trump can speak a sentence clearly, right? At least he can utter more than 5 words in concession with each other without forgetting where he was going with the point. So that was the last story. So we're going to move into Discord comments. We're going to take questions and debates from Discord. So let me fire up the Discord. Head over to the debate stage and get in there right now, and we'll talk to some folks. I just got to log in. All right. Where is the debate stage? If nobody comes into the VC, the debate stage, to talk to me, I'm going to be really upset. I'm just saying. All right. We're in the debate stage. Come for questions. Link to the Discord is in the description. Come ask me questions or try to debate me. All right, raise your hand if you're ready to talk. All right, we got a hand raiser. We're going to bring him up. Garbos. Did I talk to Garbos last time? What do I know Garbos from? I know Garbos from somewhere. Maybe chat or, I don't know. All right, guys, you have to bear with me because now I have to figure out how to actually bring people into the debate stage. All right, Garbos. I sent you an invite. We're going to put in another Zin real quick, too.
Yeah, 1 second. Trying to put it on speaker.
No worries, you're good.
Okay, this is not going to work.
You want me to... Here, let me bring up Cav while I wait for you, Garbos. Just request to join again.
Okay, got it.
Excuse me?
We'll bring Garbos back up once I talk to Cav for a second because his thing isn't working. What's up? What's up, Cav?
I'm doing great.
Good. What's your question or what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to understand the political narrative of this, and what do you do exactly?
Of which thing?
What do you do exactly? What's your political narrative of all this?
Oh, what's my my position? Like, how do I define myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm I'm a libertarian, maybe like a minarchist, I believe. In the least amount of regulation physically possible, while acknowledging that some regulation is necessary. I'm pretty conservative socially, and yeah, that's pretty much my position. I'm a Zionist, so yeah, that's how I'd sum it up. I don't like labels though, but that's how I would sum it up if I had to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something because I'm from outside of America. I live in southern Israel. I just wanted to ask, how's it going in America ever since the presidency of Trump?
Oh, it's going awesome. It's awesome over here from my
Very
perspective.
Awesome.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what's been the perspective? What has raised so many questions for you about the liberals? How will their life go is on?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, is there many questions that liberals are asking at the moment?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, they think that they just make accusations that what Trump is doing is unconstitutional, but there isn't, to my knowledge, any sound evidence of that actually being the case. So, I hear a lot of people say that like the federal government or the executive branch has no control over federal funds, which is not true. If it's not explicitly stated in a bill that money has to go to a very specific place, it does not have to go to that place. Largely what will happen is, Congress passes a bill and it says $1 million to hospitals, and then the executive branch is responsible for choosing which hospitals get chosen. So if it's not a violation or in direct contradiction of what the President Congress has said, then it's not required that the president do anything like that. So they have wide sweeping discretion on who is actually going to be the recipient of that money.
Good, okay. I just wanted to ask about the global market, if its stocks are going down ever since the presidency. I'm just saying that if it's a rumor, or do you know that it's been disproven? Because Trump has raised tariffs on China and across the globe, except for Russia and North Korea.
Yeah.
And China also has implemented tariffs, and it's been about, like, what, 34% something?
Yeah.
America has, yeah.
So it's not a rumor. It's true that the stock market was down. The stock market was down, but Trump has recovered it. So what Trump did is he showed the world a burning globe, and then he instituted his plan that he originally wanted and said, not so bad, right?
But at what that time, which time, like which presidency was it? Like under Biden's when the global market stock was going down? Or was it still off?
No, it was Trump. It was Trump's. I mean, this is last week we're talking about. We're talking about last week. Trump did it on purpose. So it was look how bad the world is if we really screw stuff up. And then he said, my old plan's not sounding too bad now, is it? And then he instituted his original plan that he wanted. So he put massive tariffs across the globe. And then he said, just kidding, we want 10% tariffs. And then everyone forgot how bad they thought 10% tariffs were before. So when I boarded a plane coming home from Timcast, at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I was missing thousands of dollars from my stock portfolio. When I landed in Seattle at 4 p.m., I was up. I was in the positive. I was in the green. So he rebounded the stocks simply by posturing and then backing off, and I think that was really effective and good, and global markets are going back up. So
what would you say the same for economists who advised against the tariffs because it will bring everything down to foreigners farming and all that stuff, anything included within the what was against devised.
Yeah, I think that
I'm talking about economists.
I think those economists are looking at the situation very short-sightedly. I think that if you look at this situation in the full scope of what it is, I think that you realize this is short-term pain, long-term gain, and right now we're not even experiencing a lot of short-term pain yet. I'm sure we will, but we're not at this point. So I think those people are just having very short-sighted views of the situation.
So
once
there's a temporary side effect.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If we could have solved this in the 1970s when all of our manufacturers were going to China, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and India for cheaper labor, we could have instituted a tariff that would have offset the difference in labor costs, and this whole thing would have been avoided. But unfortunately, we had a pussy government that was afraid of protectionism. And that's what prevented that from happening back then. The solution to that problem is like, I was on Timcast and Phil said, well, too bad, too late, right? Sucks. You can't fix it. Well, you can fix it, and Trump is fixing it right now. The solution is not to back off again like we did in the 70s and 80s. That's what got us into this mess.
Yeah, I was just asking questions since it has been asked by worldwide. I think it was just questions I asked because I was curious about it. Totally. Came up as that, but I'm glad it's going everything great. How's the local corporates and businesses? Everything's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some suffering with the tariffs because, again, like a lot of businesses, small businesses rely on imports from China. There's going to be some suffering there, but again, like short-term pain, I think, long-term gain.
Yeah, but how will they benefit now? What supplies will they need? Like, like supplies, supplies that come from American businesses. Like I'm talking factories, industrial factories that come from farms, like wheat farms, groceries, anything that benefits from the current moment that's happening like right now with the tariffs and all and that stuff, because it's a separation.
Well, I think a lot of
Or
that stuff
even
will start getting.
segregated between the supply.
I think a lot of that stuff will start getting produced in America, or I think that stuff will be flown to different countries to avoid the tariffs. So, like, for example, Apple just shipped 5 planes of iPhones to India and then flew them into the United States, and the purpose of that was avoiding the tariffs. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. I don't think it's going to have as big of a ramification on businesses as people think that it's going to have.
And what about the illegal Mexicans? Have they ever owned a farm in the United States? Like anything?
I'm not.
Sense for that. I'm just saying.
Not that I'm aware of. Illegals can't purchase property in the United States. So if there ever was a situation where they owned a farm, it was illegally. So
it was illegally. I mean, they illegally came inside.
True, it's true. But then you also have to assume, like, I guess it would require other people to act illegally for them once they got here. But
and what about the people who had? What about people who were legal immigrants who were pro-Palestinians? Like I'm talking, people still protesting in the pro-Palestine camps. Now that it's the presidency of Trump, what will happen to them later in the future when they can't no longer protest after how they've been accused of supporting? Well, intentionally they were supporting Hamas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The terrorist organization.
Yeah, so Cav, we'll take this as the last question. We're at 8 minutes, and I want to make sure that other people have an opportunity to come up as well. So I'll answer this question, and then we'll bring up Garbos. So as far as non-citizens who are protesting and supporting Hamas, providing material support to a foreign designated terrorist organization is a violation of U.S. code regardless of who you are. It's illegal for American citizens, and it's illegal for non-citizens. It's also a deportable offense for non-citizens. Mahmoud Khalil, who has been possibly the most prominent example of this, was distributing Hamas materials at the University of Columbia. I have some of those materials that were distributed at the University of California, Irvine, the exact same materials. He was distributing a pamphlet at Columbia called Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, Our Narrative. Operation Al-Aqsa Flood is October 7th. That's what Hamas calls it. So this booklet basically is Hamas's direct response to October 7th. They issued it claiming that Israel is lying. They didn't kill any innocent civilians. It's all a lie. It's propaganda, whatever. And that was being distributed at the University of Columbia. And it's not just a paper that defends Hamas. It literally says Hamas Media Office on it. This is printed directly from Hamas. I have a copy of that document at my house. Mahmoud Khalil was distributing one that was in color. A guy named Khalid Al-Assad at the University of Irvine was distributing one in black and white, and I have that with me in my house. I took it with me. So undoubtedly, these people are distributing material support for foreign designated terrorist organization, and they should be deported. Even supporting a foreign designated terrorist organization is enough to get you deported if you're here on a visa. You cannot provide any endorsement or support for a foreign designated terrorist organization as an immigrant to the United States who's not a citizen. But Cav, I appreciate you coming up, man. We're going to let some other people up to ask questions, all right?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Have a good one, man.
Probably. Oh, by the way, and I got one more very small question to ask. Are you gonna come in like in the voice chat after the whole live stream ends or whatever?
Yeah, I'll come in the voice chat after the live stream ends.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Thanks
see you in
for
a bit.
the appreciation.
Shout out to Tora Worldwide in the comments. He says, Cam, don't forget your OG fans. Don't worry, I have not. All right, Garbos will let you up, and then we'll go to Conan Barbarian.
Hi.
We'll get you.
Can you do me a favor and choose Conan instead of me? Because I want to search up sources and stuff.
Sure. Sounds good. All right.
All right.
Hello. How's it going?
Okay, so I won't deal with that. I have 10 minutes. So you bring up the AR-15. Do you want to talk about guns or abortion?
Oh, you want to debate? We can talk about abortion.
Yeah, before the abortion, can we just go on to guns for a second?
Sure.
AR-10 was actually made before Armalite even sold the rights to actually both guns to Colt.
Yeah.
And it was made in 362 NATO, and it was sold to Portugal and a bit to Sudan.
Yep.
but yeah, it was before. It was made before, and actually saying that AR and AR-15 and M16 or M4 are not the same rifle is generally disingenuous.
Wait, why is it
because the only
disingenuous?
difference is in the
Wait.
because the only difference is in
saying the M4 and the AR-15 are the same or aren't the same is disingenuous.
it is disingenuous that there are different rifles. Only there is a slight difference in fire mechanism, or all else is the same.
They're no, not true. They're completely different. They're completely different firearms. The M4 carbine shoots at a higher velocity. It shoots. I don't even know what bullet does the M4
They shoot the same bullet.
Okay, so they're on the same platform. Whatever. One is automatic. One is semi-automatic. So there's like a huge distinguishing factor there.
The only difference is like
firing velocity, which isn't important. Firing
velocity. No, velocity is the same.
No, it's not.
Velocity depends on the type of the bullet and the length of the barrel. And the length of the barrel for AR-15 is variable. You can carry basically any barrel length you want. And the barrel length of the M4 and M16 is actually mostly governed by the handle of the bayonet. So that is what differentiates the velocity of the bullet. The only difference between the rifles is that only thing that you need to do to make AR fully automatic is to put the auto sear. So
one is not fully automatic. One is One is fully automatic. One is semi-automatic. One is produced specifically for civilian use, and also has less mounts. They're not the same gun. They're completely different guns. This is like saying you could say this. This is like saying that any gun that shoots the same bullet is the exact same gun. This is not true.
No, that's like saying that a Mauser for hunting is different than a Mauser for World War One. They are the same basic rifle.
They're the same rifle. They're the same rifle because you literally buy the same rifle, right? I don't have a Mauser, but I have a Mosin Nagant, which is a Russian sniper rifle, right? They didn't produce a new Mosin Nagant for hunting. It's the same gun that they used in World War II. It was literally found in a World War II stockpile, and then it was sold as a hunting rifle because they're the same gun, right? These are two completely different guns manufactured by two completely different companies for two completely different purposes with two completely different functions. They're not the same gun. This is like saying that any gun that fires 5.56 is
they are the same gun.
They're not the same gun. It's like saying that any gun that fires 5.56 do you believe that every gun that fires 5.56 is the exact same gun?
Of course not.
Okay.
For instance, so the only thing is different to
the only similarity you've named is that they both fire the same caliber round.
No, they have the same bolt. They have the same barrel. You can swap them. They have the same buffer usually. They have basically every other part is the same except for the firing mechanism.
They're completely different guns.
Yeah, but let's go.
By two completely different companies for different purposes. Let's go to abortion.
Yeah, let's go to abortion. So I understand that your disagreement with abortion comes from non-aggression principle.
Yes.
Yeah, I will not use this time to attack because it would take too long. I will present why I think that why I'm pro-choice, and you can give your comment on that.
Sure.
So I think that it goes into bodily autonomy of the citizen, and I think that it is akin to military draft of other form.
Wait, can you say that again? I just want to write down what you're saying.
I think that forcing somebody to carry out a task is akin to by the state, of course. So the state does not allow you to stop when you want to stop something, your activity. I think that is akin to military draft or forced labor. So basically, I think the state by that time is actively enslaving an individual.
Okay, is that the whole position?
That is the gist of it, yeah.
Okay, so I would disagree with this. And the reason for this is I think that every human being who produces a child has a parental obligation to that child. They're obligated to make sure that that child is fed and taken care of to the best of their ability. I think if you don't have that, parents are like free to just starve their children who are helpless and fully reliant on them. A newborn baby is fully reliant on their parents. They can't even hold their neck up. If you don't hold the neck up of a baby, one sec, let me finish.
That is not true.
Let me finish. It is completely true. If you don't hold up the head of a baby, it will fall back and break its neck. They are
not that.
One sec. Let me just let me finish. I let you completely finish. Okay. A newborn baby is indisputably, completely and utterly reliant on its parent. It cannot feed itself. It cannot hunt for itself. It must be fed and nurtured by its parent. Okay. With that being said, I believe that there should be a parental obligation between a parent, both parents, and the child. Now that we've mentioned that, if you have consensually engaged in sexual intercourse and forced a new human being into existence, that human being did not want to exist, it did not desire to exist, it did not cause its own existence, the parents caused that. If you have engaged in that action, I believe that you now have this parental obligation to your child, regardless of what stage in development it is in. The government is not forcing you to be pregnant. You have impregnated yourself. You have engaged in intercourse, an action that you know bears the risk of potentially creating a new human being. You have engaged in that action willfully, with conscious knowing that it could create a new human being. You've forced that human being into existence. The government is not running around artificially inseminating you and causing you to be pregnant. That is a state you have put yourself in. The government is simply saying you cannot terminate that state. With the line of reasoning that you have proposed, I would say that if we assume that everything you've said is true, by the same logic, terminating your parental obligation after the child is born would also be a form of slavery, forced labor, or akin to the draft, right? Because why can't I just terminate my parental obligation after the child's born and kill my child? Doesn't make any sense. This obviously isn't the way that you'd go about it, and it's not anything like a draft, forced labor, or enslavement, because the person has put themselves in a state of pregnancy, not the government.
Okay, can I now respond?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, it is completely untrue that the born depend on their parents. They depend on any third party that is willing to care for them. So there is plenty of evidence for it. I don't need to explain.
Okay, cool.
So actually, if some other party have vested interest in bringing up any child, that second party is able to do so. So it comes from the fact that the state controls the born and it has the ability to do so. It cannot control the unborn without controlling the born that carries the baby.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to pose you a hypothetical. There is a mother. Yeah. She is pregnant. She is 9 months pregnant and she's about to give birth. She's on a boat. This boat will not come to port for 3 weeks. There is no formula on the boat. There is no wet nurses. It's just her on the boat and her baby. She has breast milk. She has unlimited access to food, but it's not food that the baby can digest. We know babies can't eat regular human food. It's burgers. She has an unlimited supply of burgers and water, but the baby cannot consume the burgers and water because it's a baby. It's an infant. It was just born. So she births this baby on the boat. There's no third party around to provide care to the baby. Should this mother be obligated to breastfeed the child? She's lactating. She is able to feed the baby, but she can choose to feed it or not to feed it. Should she be obligated by law to feed the baby, or should she be allowed to let it starve?
I will answer the question, then I will ask the hypothetical, and I would like for you to answer. I said that she shouldn't be forced to do it. And here's my hypothetical. There is a person that cannot breathe. There is no respirator. There is only the hand pump, right? You saw it on like TV when you have to pump it by hand. Is it okay for a state to designate a person to pump it for any amount of time?
Have to pump a respirator?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So this is like going to be the Judith Jarvis Thompson argument, which I'm happy to like give my opinion on, and it doesn't violate anything I've said. So I just want to be clear. Your position to justify abortion has been that if a mother is lactating and has an unlimited supply of food and a baby, she should be allowed to starve her baby and not feed it just because she doesn't want to. So I just like to make sure that we've established that you don't believe in parental obligation and you believe that parents should be allowed to starve their babies. Second of all, should a person have wait one sec. Should a person have to pump a respirator if there is no automatic respiration? No, a person should not have to pump a respirator, because if there's a random person who's on a respirator, I didn't create this person. This person, I don't have an obligation to them. They're a random person, right? This is akin to the Judith Jarvis Thompson mad violinist analogy, where Judith Jarvis Thompson basically hooks up this analogy where one day you wake up and you are on circulatory dialysis with this famous violinist, and you have to choose whether or not to continue on circulatory dialysis with this person or unconnect yourself. If you disconnect yourself, the person dies, right? Should you be obligated to keep that person alive? Well, no, because you don't know this person. You don't have any obligation or relationship with this person. You didn't cause this person to exist. You didn't force them into existence. You're not their parent. You shouldn't be obligated to take care of them. You can disconnect yourself, right? Obviously. And that's why I don't believe in abortion in the case of rape, because that case is analogous to rape, because when a woman is raped, she didn't cause that baby to exist and she doesn't have an obligation to it. So the Judith Jarvis Thompson mad violinist analogy is comparable. However, in this situation, no, the person shouldn't have to hand pump the respirator because they don't have a parental obligation to this person. And then I would further ask, like, if they do have a parental obligation, it is their child, is the child brain dead? Because at that point I would think the child is just dead. And no, they don't have an obligation.
Yeah, I would just like to ask you, where did that obligation come from? What sort of obligation is it? Do you mean it is purely a legal obligation, or does it come from something
Both.
else?
I think there should be I think it's a moral obligation that translates to law. So I think that all laws are based on somebody's morality, and personally, if I was in charge of the law, I would inflict my morality on the law. And so, because I believe morally that all parents ought to have an obligation to take care of their children and leave their children in the best shape they possibly can because they are their parents and they did force them to exist, I think that there should be a parental obligation born out of that forcing the child to exist and consensually engaging in an action that caused a baby to exist. I think there should be a parental obligation. I think that you can pass that obligation on if you relinquish it to a party that is capable and willing to take care of the baby, but until you've done that, you are obligated to take care of it. Unfortunately, right now, when a woman gets pregnant, there is no way to pass on that obligation because she can't take the child and put it in an artificial womb because that technology doesn't exist. If there was technology like that and there were artificial wombs, fine, whatever, right? But we don't live in a world where that exists. So if you can pass on the obligation without harming the child, then I think that you should be allowed to do that, i.e. putting the child up for adoption. But until that point, until there is a suitable candidate able to take up that parental obligation, you shouldn't be allowed to. Or you can't.
I have the completely different understanding of morality, but 10 minutes is not enough to explore both of our moralities.
Sure. Do you have any more questions?
No, I would just like to urge you to, if you want to learn more about specifically development and the difference between AR-15, AR-10, AR-16, go and watch videos by Forgotten Weapons.
Sure. I'll look into the differences between AR-10, AR-15, and the M4 carbine. With that being said, we will bring up the next person, all right? My Discord. Where is my Discord? What the heck? Well, it might just be me and you because I don't know where my Discord tab is. 1 second, let me find this thing. How did I lose Discord, man? Is it in a browser tab? Sorry, guys. I found it. All right. I appreciate you coming up, man. Let's bring up the next person. Garbos is requesting again. What's up, Garbos? Can you hear me? I think his audio is messed up again. We'll bring up Iron Dan. And this might be the last caller because been live for an hour and a half and I have to pee really bad. Iron Dan, I invited you. What's up?
Hi, Cam. It's a real honor.
Thanks. I appreciate it. The honor's all mine.
Thank you. I just had I guess like a large scale question. I wanted to know like what are your thoughts? I heard you say that you were a Zionist. I wanted to ask what were your overall thoughts on the West the West's position against the East. I guess you could sum it up all together. And like, what do you foresee as the future of the resolution between the massive differences of values, perspectives, and I guess ideals between them?
What do you mean by the East? Like Eastern
what,
Europe,
what specifically? Yeah,
Middle East, or
so I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we could speak about like in the concept of the Middle East, but like, I mean, mostly like non-Western nations and Western nations.
Sure. Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on specifically what nations we're talking about. Because if it's Eastern Europe, then I'm going to have a totally different like opinion and approach on this. It's our negative view of them is going to be largely due to their relationship with Russia and China. But when we're looking at the Middle East specifically, I personally think that probably the entire Middle East, outside of Israel, is a completely inferior culture. That are completely wrought with degeneracy and immoral action. For example, there is only one country that I know of. I'd be happy to hear of another one, maybe the UAE, other than Jordan. But there is only one country in the entire Middle East that I can think of that requires a person to be 18 before they can consent to sexual intercourse. Or sorry, before they can be married, not sexual intercourse, sorry. Well, yeah, actually, technically sexual intercourse too. And we'll get into that in a second. So there is only one country, Jordan, that I can think of, possibly the UAE, that requires a person to be 18 before they can get married. There is one other country I can think of that requires a minimum age for marriage. That's Sudan, and it's 10 years old. Every other country does not have a minimum age for marriage. They also legalize spousal rape. So Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria. Did I already say Yemen? I can't remember. Iran, any Middle Eastern country you can think of that has a Muslim majority, it is not only legal to marry children, but also legal to rape your wife. What does that equal? Rape your wife plus marry a child. That equals rape a child, is what that equals. If you can marry a child and you can rape your wife, you can rape a child legally within the confines of the law, which is disgusting. In addition to that, they're also not cultures that respect human rights in any way, shape, or form. They publicly execute people. They stone people to death for things that are not crimes in the West, things that are not violations of people's rights. Being gay, for example. You say what you will about the gays, but I don't think that they should be killed for being gay. So those are just a couple examples. I actually have a whole thing on my Twitter specifically about Yemen and things that are legal in Yemen. They're wrought with slavery. They're wrought with child labor. And numerous other like major human rights abuses in those countries. And I know a lot of people, human rights this, human rights that, but these are like actual violations of human rights. This isn't like, black people are less likely to make the same amount of money as a white person in the United States, which is, there's no human rights violation going on there because there's nothing in the law that causes this. But in Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and every other Middle Eastern country, there are things on the books that cause these things. Let me look up real quick. I just want to verify some of these things. Yeah, here we go. In Yemen, spousal rape is legal. Female genital mutilation is not criminalized. Child marriage is rampant. I believe it's over 4 million child brides in Yemen. It's either 4 million or 40 million, I forget. Honor killings are common. Men receive reduced sentences. Domestic abuse is legal. Forced child labor is common with no legal protections for kids. Also, forced veiling laws in places like Iran. Women have to veil themselves. They can't go in public without veiling. In Afghanistan, they have to veil, and they also can't speak in public. In Gaza, a woman can't leave her home without a male guardian, and that's the case for most of the Middle East. Also in Gaza, a woman's testimony is worth half that of a man's in court. These are obvious human rights abuses, and they're codified into law. And I think countries that allow things like female genital mutilation, child labor, child rape are just inferior cultures that don't deserve a lot of consideration on the world stage, which also points to how corrupt the UN is when they put countries like Iran, who does all of these things, on human rights councils or human rights envoys. So I would say that's where like a lot of my negative perception of most of the Middle East comes from. I think that they are wrought with incredible human rights abuses And I think nobody calls them out because they don't want to be labeled as Islamophobic or racist or something like that. But it's not racist and it's not Islamophobic to criticize cultures that legitimately do harm to people.
So I just wanted to for you to sharpen the answer, because I specifically just wanted to know how you see this difference in ideology being resolved. I heard from one of my favorite political pundits that there's only two ways for humans to communicate, and that is words and violence.
Yep.
How do you foresee this difference, being resolved?
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's a great question. Well, for Eastern Europe, I can certainly see it be resolved with words. As far as the Middle East, though, I don't see these discrepancies in cultures being solved by words, and I don't think that we should solve them with violence either. I think that you're basically just going to have to wait for the Middle East to exit the Stone Age and then move forward from there, and then maybe solve some of these problems with words. But right now, they're literally in the Stone Age of human rights. And I didn't even mention the mass murder of people of political dissenting opinions, like Gaza, for example, murdering everyone who's a member of Fatah on the Strip. I don't see this being resolved with words. These people have a completely different culture, and they believe that, for example, the Day of Judgment won't come about until the Muslims fight the Jews, killing the Jews. When the Jews hide behind stones and trees will say, "Oh Muslims, oh Abdullah, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him," except the Jew tree, which won't snitch on them. That's a hadith, alleged word of Muhammad, graded very highly, and they believe it. So when you have a culture of people who think that their religion can't be achieved until they kill people, that's a problem for me, and I don't see any situation where we do anything with those countries outside of try to influence them.
You said we have to wait for them to come out of the Stone Age. How long can we wait? And should we as the West wait? Are we not complicit by waiting?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we should start a world war and put all of our people in danger, because then that creates complicitness and harming our own people. And I think the government's obligation is to protect the people of their country. So I think Israel's obligation is going to be protect Israelis. America's obligation is going to be to protect Americans. And I don't think that starting a war throughout the entire Middle East is going to just to straighten out human rights abuses is going to solve that problem, because ultimately what's going to happen is if you bomb the living hell out of Iran, destroy the Iranian government, you're just going to have a bunch more cavemen come out and institute a new government with Sharia law again, and they're going to legalize spousal rape and child rape, and they're going to abuse women, and it's just going to happen again. And it could be worse the next time, right? There could be more public executions. There could be more execution of political dissent. So, like I said, I think all we can do right now is just continue to put influence over those countries. Try to prevent China from getting a grasp on them, and wait for them to come out of the Stone Age. I don't think there's anything else we can do to prevent those human rights abuses, but it's definitely a cultural difference between them and the West, and it's an unreconcilable difference.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you for your time. It really is an honor.
Yeah, thank you for coming up. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I think that's the last caller we have, guys. So I appreciate everybody tuning in to the stream. I appreciate you all coming. Again, we're going to try to do this very regularly. We're going to try to stream every day that I'm not busy. There will be some days that I'm on campus debating people, and I won't be able to stream those days. There'll be some days that I'm at protests or other things like that. I travel a lot, so there will be some days that I can't stream, but I will try to stream every day that I can, every day that I am available. I will be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're going to try to do it at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. That is 6 p.m. Israeli time, IST. And it is also, 2 or 3 Eastern Standard Time. I don't keep track because loser time. Losers live on the East Coast, and that's their time zone. So anyway, we'll be live at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. I got to go.